To whoever this may impact, sometimes our lives have to be completely shaken up, changed, and rearranged to relocate us where we're really meant to be. Sometimes change feels like loss, transformation is scary, and sometimes, to discover the best version of ourselves, we must let go of absolutely everything holding us down. Welcome to I Missed Me, your new safe space. I Missed Me's purpose is to help people all around the world to come back home to themselves. It is a healing self-growth podcast that encourages people to dive deep into their emotions, heal their traumas, and ultimately love themselves. My name is Mafian Sures. I am your host, and I hope to be a part of your healing journey.
A choice right now, between fear and love. It's just a run.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expanding reality.
A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
Expanding reality.
Peter Khoury, welcome to the show, my friend. I'm super excited to introduce you to the audience. You are a fascinating individual. You've had a lifetime of experience. We're just going to kick it off from the beginning. So, just to let the audience know here, all the ways to find you will be located down in the show description. Again, fascinating information about you. You're not hard to find on the internet as far as amazing stories and things that we look at as far as the mysteries go. And my brother, you have deepened the mystery for us. So, I also revealed some incredibly amazing evidence, and that's how I'll put it. So if you don't mind, my friend, before we get into our conversation and hearing of your experiences, just let the audience know a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, my name's Peter Khoury. I was born in Lebanon in 1964, and I was about 1973. My mum and the rest of the family migrated. My dad was already living in Australia for 6 years before us, so we followed him out here. And I went to school, primary school, high school, met my girlfriend, well, my future wife, and that was a funny one actually, because I went to visit a friend and I wasn't even going to go on to school. I finished my year 10, and as I was talking to him, I saw someone in the playground, and I said, "Who's that playing netball?" And he said, "Oh, her name's Vivian." And I was like, "Mate, that's exactly what I want my wife to look like." And you wouldn't believe it. In 1990, we ended up getting married, and we were married for 26 years, and we had two beautiful kids, Stephen, who's 28 now, and Georgia, who's 25. Unfortunately, after 26 years, our marriage came to an end. We're separated at the moment. We've been separated for 7 years. She supported me all the way through our 26-year marriage and our relationship. I mean, I met her in 1981, so we've known each other for a long time. And she supported me throughout our marriage with my experiences, and she had some experiences with me as well. And now that we're broken up, some people have asked me, "Oh, what is she going to say now?" And I said, the truth. She's going to tell the truth. She's not going to change that. And so I've had a number of experiences. I worked in the building trade. So I'd work on building sites. I had my own business, and I got injured in 1992 at work. I got attacked by three guys, and I was stabbed in the chest, and I had my arm ripped open with a broken bottle, and I got hit on the head twice with a shovel, and I blocked the third hit, which I reckon would have killed me. I was, heavily injured, and lucky to survive that one. And then in 2005, I got into the security industry. Something just drove me. Something just kept telling me, just repeatedly in my head, just, you got to do this, you got to do this. And I had no intention of changing trades or businesses. So I ended up doing the security course. And for the last 18 years or so, I've been doing security, and I work at iconic buildings. I work sometimes at the Opera House, and that's a big venue in New South Wales and Sydney, an iconic building. I through my work now, I get to meet a lot of different people, and what I've noticed over the years, people have started to become a bit more open-minded, and to the topic of UFOs and aliens and what I'm experiencing, I've never had an issue or a problem with me talking about it. I believe I was one of the first Australians to go public, and those experiences have made me who I am today. Even the one where I nearly got killed, I think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I've worked in the security industry where there's been armed robberies involved, and I've had a shotgun to my head for 7 minutes in an 8-minute robbery. The club was full of people, and directors and like the board of directors and CEOs and so on were there. I've been around, I've had an interesting life, and I've had some really interesting life experiences. And to add to that, I've had some really interesting out of this world experiences.
You really have, dude. You are fascinating. Like I said, I'm grateful to introduce you to the audience. Honestly, you're in a great, you're home here, brother. Seriously. Okay. So if you don't mind, man, like I said, audience, all the ways to find him located down below. Also, if you're looking for the transcript of this episode, those can be found for free on Patreon, but it is also linked down below. Now, let's talk about, if you don't mind, sir, the earliest one that you can remember. Was this your Lebanon age 7 experience?
Yeah, look, usually I try and stick with my conscious recall. I don't like memories that come to me later. Like, I take them on board, I note them, but the experiences that I like to talk about and stick to are the conscious recall, just like you and I are talking now, and I remember this as you will. Same thing. I've had hypnotherapy sessions. I mean, Professor John Mack was one of the hypnotherapists who put me under. Still, I try not to throw that into the mix. It's just, to me, it's like stick to your conscious recall memories. They're stronger. Then I'm not filling gaps just because I want to. So yeah, my first experience, conscious recall experience that I had was in 1971, 72 in Lebanon. It was summer, so we were on school holidays, and in Lebanon you get 3 months straight of school holidays in summer. And, as kids do, we're playing in the neighborhood, in the street. It's probably 7, 8 of us together. And as we're running around, we're playing cowboys and Indians and, carrying on, climbing trees and whatever. Someone's just called out, "Let's go play on the roof." And he pointed to the neighbor's house. 2 of their children from that house were playing with us, brother and sister. And we sort of didn't question it. Everybody just started running towards the house. Now, in Lebanon, the houses are on the coast, and I live in a town called Shikka, and my mum's from a town. My dad's from Shikka, and my mum's from Anfi, which are right next to each other on the coast. We don't have tiled roofs, so the roofs on the houses aren't pitched; they're flat. You can build a cubby house up there. You can put your washing lines up there. It was like just a part of the house that you used. And a lot of people grew vine leaves, grapes and so on, and made it into a shelter. And, you'd spend most of your summers sleeping up there under the stars, really. So it wasn't a, dangerous situation to run up onto the roof and play. We're used to it. So as we're running to the house, we've crossed the road. And as we're running to the house, I saw that my little cousin, her name was Ada, she was behind me, a couple of steps behind me. So I thought, I didn't want her to go last because she was the youngest. So I let her run in front of me. I slowed down, let her get in front of me. And as we ran up, through the gate, up the stairs, we went up two flights of stairs. And as we got to the top landing, I noticed 3 or 4 of them run through. And as they ran through the door, it's a big steel security door. You can imagine a solid steel door on the roof to stop people entering the house if they got onto the roof. Usually the weight of that door, it was so heavy, it'd close on its own weight. Like as soon as you pushed it, it was almost like it had a spring reaction to it, that it'd come back. So when I saw these people, the kids, my friends and cousins running through, I didn't even see the door come back at them. And as they all ran and I'm going through, I'm thinking, it's going to definitely come back and hit me. So I actually had my hands out like that in front of me so I can stop the door hitting me. And as I've run through, I actually looked at the door as I went past because I thought, any second it's going to come back and it could hit me in the shoulder, like could injure me. So I was keeping an eye on it. And as I walked out onto the roof, the door stayed open. And I took maybe 3 or 4 steps on the roof, and I noticed that all my friends, older than me, younger than me, they were just frozen like mannequins, like store mannequins, shop front window. No movement whatsoever. I didn't even see them breathing. I didn't, when you look at someone, you look in their eyes and you can see that glitter, that glow. You can see that soul, that life. I couldn't see that. I was looking at them in the eyes and it was just nothing. They were just there but not there. And no movement like that. I tried to tickle them. That's what I started doing. I tried to tickle them to get a reaction. I thought, come on, you've got to move. If someone tickles you, even if you try and smile or hide it, you're crazy. You're going to move something. There was nothing. And that sort of, concerned me. And I was like questioning, like, what's going on? Why are they playing a game? But they couldn't be that good at playing that game. And not all of them, one of them would have had to move. So I'm trying to move around to them, tickle them, different people, try and move them, and I couldn't. And then I walked up to another kid. His name was George. He was, I think, 2 or 3 years older than us. And he was taller, obviously. So I walked up to him and I went to tickle him under the throat. I walked up, put my hand up to tickle him. And as I looked up towards him, I noticed right above us in the sky, there was an X-shaped, big as a VW, like a beetle, a bug, the vehicle. It was X-shaped. It was white with a black, a very heavily tinted dark windscreen, an oval windscreen. And imagine an egg with the pointy side up and the rounded side down the bottom, just leaning on a 45-degree angle, and about 20 meters above us. So it was clear. I could see the sun reflecting of it. It was just sort of hovering and moving a little bit, but it wasn't traveling. It was definitely hovering. And as I'm looking at this thing, I see it drop about 5 meters. It gets closer. It dropped a couple of times where it was probably about 10 meters away from me. I could have thrown something at it and hit it. And it was directly above us. And as I'm looking at this thing, I see 2 beings sitting inside. Now, look, I've seen helicopters as a child. Helicopters would fly over every other day and they would drop propaganda material. They'd drop all different color paper. And being kids, the only color paper we usually saw was white. So when we saw all these papers being thrown out of a helicopter and they're blues and purples and yellows and reds, we'd run around and collect that. We didn't care what was written on there. I probably couldn't even read what was written on there at the time. But we just ran and picked up all these papers and, we collected them, and it was like a game for us. So we were very aware of seeing helicopters fly by. We're very aware of seeing soldiers sitting down in the door and hanging their feet out onto the landing gear or throwing material out, waving at us. I knew exactly what a helicopter looked like. This was no helicopter. This had no propulsion system, no propellers, no landing gear. It was a perfectly X-shaped object, smooth. So anyway, sitting inside of it were 2 beings, very tall, very thin. But all I saw was a silhouette. I couldn't distinguish. I couldn't tell features or color the skin of the face or how big their eyes were or nose or whatever, if they had hair or not. But I could see 2, silhouettes sitting, and not sitting as a helicopter pilot would, where you'd be sitting with your back to the seat. They were like leaning forward. The object was sort of leaning forward, tilted forward, and they were sitting in a forward position. But they were looking at us, well, at me more so. And I was the only one who could move out of the whole group. And so I'm looking up at them, and I could see them looking at each other. I'd see the one closer to me was more so because the one to his right was looking towards me anyway. I'd see the one on the left side look over at him numerous times. He'd be looking at him, looking back, looking at him, look like he's confused or something's wrong. And then as I'm trying to process, trying to see something, a feature, trying to distinguish, who are they? What are they? And I wasn't thinking UFOs at the time. I didn't know about UFOs. I had no idea. I'm from a Christian family, Maronite background, Lebanese Maronite. We don't talk about this stuff. And never discussed it. It was never something that I was, spoon fed or anything. So I had nothing, to label it. I had no idea. So I'm just looking at this thing and it was really interesting and freaky. But anyway, all of a sudden, bang, in a split second, we're all downstairs at the bottom of the stairs on the ground floor, in the doorway, in the entryway. And some of us were sitting down on the steps and some were standing. And instantly, as soon as we got there and we were conscious, everybody was asking, how did we get here? We were up on the roof. How did we get down here? No one could remember how we got down from the roof to the bottom floor. And as we're talking to each other, we're asking each other, like, I didn't even get the chance to ask them, did you see that object? Did you see the egg-shaped thing? And we hear parents calling us, and they're calling our names. So one of the the kid sticks his head out the door and he goes, we're here, we're here. So parents come in, I think it was 2 or 3 parents come in and they're like, where have you been? And we're like, we're on the roof. And they're like, no, you haven't been on the roof because we've been calling you. Where have you been? We're like, on the roof. So every time we said we're on the roof, the parent would smack their own kid, bang, you haven't been on the roof, why are you lying? And we're like, we were on the roof. And they said, if you were on the roof, you should have heard us. We've been looking for you for 2 to 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours, they said. And they said, if you ignored us, you're in more trouble than you would have been if you actually didn't hear us. And we're like, no, we didn't hear you calling out to us. So we had no idea that they were looking for us for so long. We had no idea that such a period of time, 2 to 3 hours had gone by. No clue about that. Anyway, so we got grounded. We couldn't play with each other for a few days. So everyone went home and that was that. And the next experience that I had was when we migrated to Australia in 1973. And, it was a big learning curve in a new country, flying over Australia to come in and land. I loved the place because all I saw were green backyards, people's properties green with swimming pools. And I never saw anything like that in Lebanon, and it intrigued me. And every house almost had a swimming pool in their backyard. And so, yeah, I loved living in Australia. I really liked the change. I know my family members, a couple of them struggled with it, but I really fitted in quickly, learned the language quickly. And like my brothers and my sister have an accent. I think I don't. I might, but yeah, I sort of assimilated a bit better and quicker than the rest of the family did. But as I said to you before, when I finished year 10, which is high school, I could have had a chance to continue to year 11 and 12 and then, university, but I decided, no, I want to go and work. And I went to visit a friend one day at the school he was at. And as I was talking to him, I saw a group of people playing netball, and I asked him about one particular girl, and he told me her name. And he said her name was Vivian. And I said to him, that's exactly what I want my wife to look like, which was crazy. That was 1981. And then I ended up going to that school, going to that school. I went to that school for 7 months, got to meet her, dated her a little bit. And then I wasn't one of the best kids at school. I was a little bit mischievous, but yeah, I got the choice to either leave the school or get expelled. So I left, and we went our separate ways, Vivian and I, for a few years. And then in 1990, 87 actually, we caught up again. And in 1990, we got married. And in 1988, it was Valentine's Day, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1988. She was going to go to Queensland, and then I was going to follow her a week later. I'm going to spend 2 weeks together up there. She was going up with her friends for a week before. So as we're sitting there talking about it, we're in my car, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat with my back to the door. She's sitting in the passenger seat with her back to the door. So we're facing each other, and we're talking, and out of the blue, something just said to me, just really nagged me in my head, just look up at the sky, look up at the sky, look up at the sky. You need to look up at the sky. So I stuck my head out the window, like I put my head back out the window like that. And I saw, heading from north to east, was this grapefruit-sized, bigger than a baseball, bright white, like I'm talking hot, bright white, ice white, I should say. And it was traveling rapidly, really quick. And I'd never seen anything move that fast. And then it got to the Southern Cross. And as soon as it got over the Southern Cross, the three prominent stars, they almost form a triangle. It stopped instantly, like it was moving rapidly, and it just stopped on top of this star. And it hovered above it. And I said, you got to come out and see this. We walked out and we're watching it now. We're outside the car, and I got a cardboard and I rolled it up like a tube so I could sort of just focus my sight on the object. And it started to shoot a beam of light. It was almost like a dumbbell. It was there was a ball. Then it'd shoot a thick beam of light, solid white light, to the next star. And it'd appear in two places at once. Then it'd disappear from point A. And then from point B, it'd shoot another beam of light, appear at two places, then disappear from point B. And it was doing this erratically back and forth. There was no pattern to it. It wasn't like continuous pattern left to right. It was just zigzagging, 90-degree turns, so quick, so rapid. And she actually said, it looks like a war with the stars, Star Wars, a war with the stars. That's how she worded it. And I said to her, no, it looks like it's looking for something, searching for something, because I assumed the light was a beam, a search beam, or, what I didn't know back then was that it was probably moving faster than the speed of light. You could see it at two places at once and then disappearing from point A. And it was doing this for about 2 minutes. And then it went back up to that top star that it started on. It sat there for probably 20, 30 seconds. And then bang, it just shot up straight up into the sky, vanished. Now, we were adamant that the next day, thousands of people in Sydney would have reported it. Thousands of people. It happened at about 8:30 in the evening at night. So it wasn't fairly late. A lot of people would have been out, and it was Valentine's Day, so people would have been out and about. So the next day we checked radio news, nothing, no information. We checked newspapers. I called the local newspapers in the area. No reports whatsoever. I cannot believe that. Look, I'd guess that other people did see it, and maybe they didn't report it. At the time, we didn't report it. We didn't know who to report it to. But maybe other people did see it, and maybe somebody took a photo. I'm not sure. But I wish we had mobile phones back then. I was only saying that to my partner yesterday. I wish we had mobile phones back then. But anyway, so that was 1988. And that was the first big experience or sighting that I had, and she was with me at the time. So we experienced together, which was great. Now, 1988, I was living on my own. I left home early for 5 years and lived on my own. And, I ran with the wrong crowd, and some might say I was the wrong crowd. But, I, did what I did and got it out of my system. And then I moved back home, and while I was dating Vivian, and we got married in 1990, we're back to 1988 now. We've had this experience together with the sighting, and then all of a sudden, about 6 months later in July, I'm home at my parents', but living there now for about 9 months. And I remember this one night in particular, I was watching television with my dad, and I really was looking forward to it because Dad and I weren't really close. And he was sitting in the lounge room, and I had just moved back home. I'd been there for a while. And I was just, looking forward to watching this movie with him. And it was about 11 o'clock at night. And back then, the TV station would shut down about 2, 3 o'clock. So that was probably the last movie, or, second last movie for the night. So we sat back to watch it. And as the movie started, it was probably about 10 minutes into the movie. My brother, my oldest brother, his name's Sam, he was in my bedroom, sleeping in my bedroom. And he walked out of the room half dazed, and he said to me, "Can you go watch TV in your room? I want to sleep out here." I thought it didn't make sense at the time, but, I didn't mind my privacy either. I said, okay. So I let him and Dad sit there, watch I went into my room, sat down on my bed. I had a little color Toshiba television, the portable one. I sat down, I turned the TV on, and as I went to lay back on the bed, I put my hands behind my head like that, and I crossed my legs over, my right leg over my left. And before my head even hit the pillow, my hands hadn't even touched the pillow. I was just about to lean back, and I felt something grab me, bang, straight around my ankle, on top of my right leg. But on my ankle, I felt something grab me like that. And to me, it felt like it could have been this part of the hand, index finger and the thumb, but it could have been a device, because as soon as I felt it touch me, I got pins and needles, like static electricity, but more numbness, crawling up through my feet, all the way up through my legs, up through my body, all the way to the top of my head. And my face was like, when it went through my face, it was like I was wearing a face mask that was just electrified. And then it hit the top of my head. And the way I described it back then was, it felt like thousands of ants crawling through my scalp, but it was more static electricity. And I was fortunate enough to be awake. And I think if I was asleep, if I had my eyes closed even, I would have put it down as a dream. I maybe not would have seen what I saw, and I would have put the whole experience down to a dream and just moved on, and that's it. And I reckon a lot of people do that. A lot of people have these experiences, will just go, it's a dream, it's a nightmare, don't think about it. But I had no choice. I had my eyes open. So as I look at the foot of the bed, I see a being, a creature that was horrific looking, in that it looked gorilla-like. It was about 3 foot in height. It was at the end of the bed, so at my feet. That's how I assume grabbed me. And it looked gorilla-like. I was looking at a miniature gorilla wearing a monk's robe with a hood over its head, which made its head look a lot bigger. And as I looked at its face, I just saw deep, it was like a black, bluey skin color. It was really weird color, but really deep set wrinkles in the forehead, wide nose, very wide nose, big lips. I mean, honestly, it was a gorilla in a monk's outfit, about 3 foot in height. That's the best description. Now, years later, I came across Whitley Strieber from the book Communion, and his description in the movie. If you gave me the world's best artist and said, okay, Peter, give us a description of what they look like, I would have done a pretty damn good job, but they nailed it. Whoever did the special effects for that show Communion, I have no doubt they have seen these beings. They know what they look like, because you can't get it that accurate unless you've seen this thing. But anyway, I'm looking at a creature at the foot of the bed, and I'm starting to freak out now. And then I could move my eyes, so with the corner of my eyes, I see 2 more on the right side of my bed, and they were between the TV and the bed. So I couldn't see the TV anymore. There were 2 creatures standing there, and they looked exactly the same as the other one. Very robust, very solid, and I think they're the military arm of their operation. I think they're their muscle. And when I was looking at that, I wasn't thinking aliens. I wasn't thinking UFOs. I was thinking evil. I was thinking the devil. I thought, oh, Peter, you lived 5 years and did granite muck, and now you're paying for it. This is God's punishment to you, That's how I was thinking. I thought, but anyway, I couldn't move. I became paralyzed. I could not move except my eyes, which were open. And that terrified me, because I thought, I was 23 years old at the time, and I'm thinking to myself, this is how I was processing this. I wasn't thinking alien at all. I'm thinking, this is evil. This is the devil. I'm being made to pay for, bad deeds or whatever I did, the lifestyle I lived. And I'm going to be either dead or I'm in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, because I was trying also to call out to my dad and my brother who were in the next room. Although I was thinking about their names, like I could say, in my head, I could say Sam, think Dad, but it wouldn't come out. My voice box was switched off. Just no sound would come out. And that frustrated me even more. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to be paralyzed, and I can't even call out to my family. So in the morning, when they come in to wake me up, they're going to see I'm paralyzed. I'm in a wheelchair from now on. That's how petrified I was. And I was sweating and I was agitated. And then all of a sudden, as I'm lying there, on the left side of there's a wardrobe, there's a little gap to walk through, and there's the bed. There were 2 beings standing between the bed and the wardrobe, and they're on my left. And the being closest to my head was male, and then one around my waist was a female. And I could tell, obviously, because she had breasts and very similar features, very identical, but you could tell she was female. And although I was panicked and in a state of like, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I'm paralyzed. Like, I'll never walk again. And then with the corner of my eye, I see these two, and they were just tall, 7 foot in height, easily 7 foot in height. And me lying down on the bed, they probably looked taller than what they would have been, but I'd say 7 foot easy, judging by the wardrobe. They both had surgical masks, which to me was strange. But anyway, they both had surgical masks, but unlike which now we're all accustomed to surgical masks after COVID, our masks are probably the width of 4 fingers, like the width of your hand. Their masks were probably the width of 2 fingers. And their mouth is actually really small. It's like a line drawn with a pencil. You don't actually see lips as such. But anyway, I'm looking at these beings, and I look straight into the eyes of the male. And as soon as I look into his eyes, and I'm talking about, I'll describe him to you, and then you'll know what I mean by the next point I'm making. So they were tall, they were goldish in color. Could have been a jumpsuit that they were in. I'm not too sure, but even their faces were goldish in color. Big, massive, oval, massive black eyes, like you look at a horse's or a cow's eyes, even bigger. Sort of a structure for a nose, but more 2 little slits for nostrils, and like a long nose, but small, but 2 little slits. And then underneath that is just a line, as if you draw it with a pencil for a mouth. So I didn't see their lips move or anything, but as I looked in these beings' eyes, black, deep black, it was like I fell in a void. It was like he was like instantly hypnotized me, because 1 second I was petrified and I was scared and I was panicking. And all of a sudden, as soon as I look in these beings' eyes, I just felt totally calm within seconds. And that leads to later where Professor John Mack hypnotized me. And when this this reaction happened during the hypnotherapy session, where I was freaking out, I was sweating, then I look into the being's eyes, and then I'm totally calm, sweat stops. He said, you can't fake this. He goes, nobody can fake that reaction. And it was just, I relived the experience, and that was my reaction to it. But anyway, the male had his surgical mask under his chin. He wasn't wearing it over his mouth. And I got the impression that he knew me, that we've had previous contact. And that's what I was getting. It was telepathic, but I'll get to that in a sec. The female had a mask, and she had it over her mouth. And like I said, it was about 2 fingers wide, and it was over her mouth. And the male actually looks at me and says, telepathically in my mind, I'm not hearing voices, I'm not going crazy. This is a feeling, more of a knowing than hearing a voice in my head, rumbling in my head. This was just a feeling, and it was, calm down, relax, we're not going to harm you, it'll be okay, it'll be like the last time, calm down, relax, we're not going to harm you. And I'm like, excuse my French, what fucking last time? What the fuck? Like, sorry, but that was my reaction. And I'm like, but I was sort of, at the same time, now I was thinking, this isn't the devil, this isn't evil, because that whole feeling has left me now, and I'm totally calm and relaxed. And anyway, as he's saying to me, calm down, relax, we're not going to harm you, it'll be like the last time. He leans over me, and with his hand, and to me it looked like he was holding him with 3 fingers like that, but it was like a needle almost, with what looked like an optic fiber, the closest thing I can say, or like a needle, but a flexible tube. The needle was actually flexible, and it had a light at the tip of it, a tiny light. And he pointed it to my head right about here and pushed it in. I felt it go in, but I didn't feel any pain. And as soon as it pierced my skin, I blacked out, gone out. Next memory I have, I'm in my bed, and because I had been fighting this paralysis, trying to move, I sprung out of bed so quick. It was like a lightning bolt. Jumped out of bed, opened the door, walked out to the TV room. My dad was the first person I came to. He was on the first lounge as I walked through the door. And Dad, I was trying to shake him and wake him up. Dad, wake up. Wouldn't wake up, couldn't wake him up. I thought Dad had a heart attack. So I checked his pulse and I could feel a bit of pulse. Then I look at my brother, and my brother's out. The TV screen, well, I'll get to that in a sec. All I hear is a noise on the TV, like static noise. But I'm not looking at it at this point in time. I'm worried about my dad and my brother. I look at my brother, trying to wake up my brother. I couldn't wake him, so I slapped him 3 times. It's pretty hard too. And he woke up, and the first thing he said, and he said it in Arabic, he said, I feel like I've been switched off. And I didn't think twice about it at the time. But now I know a lot of people that have these experiences, people around them do get switched off. But anyway, I said to him, I can't wake up Dad. Something's wrong with Dad. So we both got up, tried to shake Dad. My brother said, get some water. We splashed it on Dad's face, slapped Dad a couple of times in the face lightly. He woke up, not a word. You'd think your dad would say, why are you slapping me? What, did I have a heart attack? Like, what's wrong? What, nothing. He didn't even question it. Like, why am I wet? Why did you wake me? Why did you slap? Nothing. It's just like he wasn't even there. So anyway, I said to my brother, how long has it been since I've been in my room? And he said, about 10, 15 minutes. That's what I thought. But as we looked at the TV, we both looked at the TV, and the station had closed, and it was just a test pattern on the TV screen. So it was about 11:15 by the time I went into my room. And now we're looking at about 2:30, 3 o'clock, maybe even later, 3:30. And so I just went and grabbed a glass of water and filled up the glass of water, and I went back to my room and put the glass of water on the side of the bedside chest. And I thought, if I wake up in the morning and this glass of water's here, this really happened. Anyway, I go to bed, and I got to say, you have a dream, you have a little nightmare, or, and you toss and turn in bed because you keep thinking about it, and you're trying to get, to move on from it and fall asleep. And I just went back to bed and fell asleep. I didn't even run it through my head like, wow, what just happened to me? Went back into bed and just fell asleep, which I found later on, I found that to be strange. Like, you would have thought about it. You would have looked around your room to see, are they still there, or is something there? But I didn't. But anyway, so the next day I got up and had a shower, and I went to pick up Vivian from work. But as I had a shower, I went to dry myself. And as I was drying my right leg, I felt something like a burning sensation on the shin. And when I looked, I saw that it's as if someone had a cigarette and put it on my skin, let it burn. It was a perfect circle, and it was red raw, and it had 3 like prong marks in there, like 3 holes within it. And it was painful too. And I thought, oh, that must be from last night. Somehow I connected it to be from what happened to me last night. They put this thing in my head, and then obviously they've done something to my leg. So anyway, 6 hours later, I went down into the city in Macquarie Street, Sydney, picked up Vivian. As soon as she got in the car, her comment was, oh my God, who have you had a fight with? Something's happened. I said, no, something's happened, but I don't know what to say. I said, I don't even know who to talk to about this. So I started to tell her about it. I said, look, if I'm going to tell anyone, I reckon you might believe me, you might listen to me at least. So I started to tell her, and as I mentioned the mark on my head, like the inserting something in my head, I touched the area, and when I looked, there was dry blood on my fingernail. So she had a closer look, and she was like, oh my God, Peter, it's like a donut, and there's a hole and there's blood there. She goes, like, it looks like something's been inserted in your head. Anyway, I said, oh, and there's this mark on my shin. And as I lifted my jean leg up to show her, it was completely healed. Like, it's a scar. You can see it. It's like a bullet hole almost. You can put your finger in it. And it's, a good 5 millimeter indentation, if not deeper, into the bone. It's as if they took bone, blood, skin, whatever, and it's a deep indentation, but it's healed. It's like completely healed 6 hours later. The people that have worked on later cases with me and did the DNA testing and that in the later case, they actually said, if I ever have that happen again, or we should educate the public if they ever get any, what they call scoop marks, I should have referenced that. They're actually called scoop marks, which I learned at a later time. I completed a UFO investigation course through the years, and I've been an investigator, a researcher. I'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, so they said, oh, maybe next time take a swab and, put it in a container and they can test it. And they said, whatever they use to heal these things could revolutionize surgery. You probably wouldn't even need stitches. And then within 6 months, liquid Band-Aid came out. One of the scientists called me and said, check this out. And it was like a liquid Band-Aid type form. You just painted it on and it sealed the wound. But anyway, so that's 1988. I'm talking to Vivian. She says to me, look, I think with the hole in your head and that mark, you should go and see your doctor. So I dropped her off at home. I went to the doctor who was in a suburb called Elwood, which was like 2 minutes up the road from where I dropped Viv off at her parents. I walked into the doctor, and she was my doctor for 10 years. She was a great doctor, would come to your house if you couldn't make it to the surgery. She'd go out of her way to be there for you. She's really good, helped one of my ex-girlfriends a lot. And I walked in the office, and she knew me for 10 years. She knew what type of person I was. And I said, look, doctor, I need to speak to someone. I trust you. I'm going to talk to you. So I told her the story I just told you, and she just burst out laughing, like hysterical laughter. And I was like so cut up and so upset. I was hurt. I was like, if you think, and I said this to her, I said, doctor, don't laugh at me, because people in the waiting room could hear her laughing. They must have thought I must have been the best comedian in the world. And I said, don't laugh at me, doctor. Like, if you think I'm going crazy, send me to a psychologist, send me somewhere, but don't laugh at me. I walked out of that surgery, never went back and saw her again. That was it. That was the last time I ever saw her. And it disappointed me a lot, because, you don't laugh at someone telling you that. And I've heard a lot more horror cases than what I've been through. But anyway, so it sort of, this experience opened my mind, and I went on a search, and I went on a search for truth. Any book I saw, any movie I saw, any documentary I saw, any DVD I saw on the topic, I picked it up. I just wanted to read anything and everything. And as you can see behind me, there's I've got bookshelves doubled over and tripled over with books, all on the topic, numerous videos and so on. So my search for truth began after my 1988 experience. And it was a long journey and a costly one, because books don't come cheap, let me tell you. And so anyway, I got involved. I wanted to find out what was happening to me, so I contacted a couple of psychologists, a couple of psychiatrists. As soon as I'd speak to them and say, look, I've had an experience. I think there was a presence in my room, and there were two types of beings. Oh, no, we don't deal with that. Hang up on you. Not even recommend you to go somewhere else or refer you somewhere else. Just, no, we don't do this. Hang up. I spoke to a psychologist in Queensland, and he said, look, I've been hearing this from a lot of people lately. He said, I think it's UFO related, alien related. He goes, I'm not 100% on this, but that's what I'm hearing. He goes, look, there's a group I hear in Sydney that are forming in the next couple of months. Why don't you have a chat to them? So I ended up contacting them, and went to their first meeting, inaugural meeting. And they were naming the group. And I went there with two female friends of mine. And we actually named the group, and we won the competition for the naming. And they gave me 3 books, which I gave one to each of the ladies with me, and I kept one. And so I got involved in that group for a couple of years, and they were happy to look into lights in the sky, in the 1950s or the 1930s, or 10 years, 70s, whatever, a light here, a light there. They were happy to stand up in a group meeting and just, in 1970, we had a report, a light in the sky, and the farmer next door also saw it, things like that. Didn't want to go near the abduction topic. It was a can of worms they didn't want to open. And when I started to speak out, they actually appointed me the Australian representative for the abduction support group, or the abduction research. And I said to them, you're throwing me at the deep end, because I don't even understand what I'm going through, let alone try and help other people. Now, fortunately for me, Bud Hopkins had come out to Australia and lectured in Sydney, and I attended. Thank you. And I attended, yes. And I attended the conference, and I actually got a one-on-one interview with Bud, which is recorded, and we have it on record. A colleague of mine both sat down and interviewed Bud. And my question to Bud at the end was, do you think someone in my position who's had the experience, who's been affected by it, I'm not really dealing with it because I don't understand it at this point, do you think I could assist people in a support group environment? And he said, you would be one of the best people to do it because you've been there. You can understand, you can relate. These people will trust you. You're not researching to write a book or, tell them what their story is. You're just there to listen. So in 1993, we started the UFO Experience Support Association, and it was started in April 1993. And we did a lot of good work, a lot of education programs. We used to send information to schools. We'd get universities, students doing theses and papers on things. They'd ask us to give them information because they wanted to do the UFO topic. And we'd hold conferences. For 15 years, we held the biggest conferences in the country, brought out some of the best people. The only person I haven't brought out here, which I tried to, was a challenge, was Bob Lazar. But everybody else that we wanted to bring out here, we brought out here. Professor John Mack attended one of our support group meetings and did a workshop, which was great value for everyone. I'll jump the gun a little bit here, but now the next experience after my 1988 experience, which really anchored me in the UFO field at that stage, I thought, okay, this isn't evil, this isn't the devil, and there might be an evil aspect to it. Not everything is benevolent. There's a malevolent side to a lot of things as well, and negatives and positive. We have it in our human nature as well. But I had somewhere to focus. I could, had a pigeonhole to put this name in, and it was UFO related, abduction related. And 1992 rolls around, and we got married in 1990. Vivian and I, we moved into our house that I'm in now, and as soon as we moved in, there was activity in the house from day one. First day we were here, we were sitting down. We had 2 milk crates, 2 boxes, plastic boxes we were sitting on. And we were actually renovating, trying to paint the place. We hadn't moved in yet. We were just in here to fix things. We had a pizza. We ordered a pizza. We're sitting down. We're eating the pizza, and we hear the loudest footsteps you've ever heard. It was like a soldier with heavy boots marching through the house. And she literally crapped herself. She was like, there's someone is in the house. And we thought because the house was vacant for a couple of weeks that maybe someone had, broken in, or there was someone living here or something, staying in there. But the whole house was locked when we were in there. And as the footsteps come around, there was an archway to the room. It just stopped dead in its tracks. It must have seen us or realized we're there, and it just stopped. And we both looked at each other and we thought, we heard that, 2 weeks after that, she was making some food, and she asked me to run up the shop and get some ingredients. As I went up the door. Within 2 minutes, it probably would have taken me 15 minutes to get there, pick up what I need and come back. So 2 minutes after I left, she hears footsteps through the house, and she thought, oh, Peter's come back quick. He must have forgotten something. So she's in the kitchen. She turns around, and she sees a full apparition, a male. She described him as looking like Abraham Lincoln, with a tailcoat, a long jacket tailcoat, with a hat, a beard. And as it walked across the archway, he's walking through the lounge room. There's a dining room, then there's a kitchen, and there's 2 archways across each other. He's actually looked at her, and she was just gone. She just couldn't deal with that. And it kept walking, and it walked into a wall that used to be all glass mirrors, all little square glass mirrors. They had the whole wall covered in mirrors. And it walked towards that wall. Now, the room it would have got through, if it walked through the mirrors, through the wall into the next room, that room, anyway, I'll finish the story. When I came back home 20 minutes later, say, I walk in, and she's against the kitchen bench with her hands gripping the kitchen bench behind her, and she's just shaking. And I'm like, what? I looked at her face, and I knew. I said, what's wrong? I said, there's a man in the house, Peter. There's a man in the house. So I checked the whole house. There was no one in the house. Now, that same room that it would have went into, when we had our son, he had some sleep issues as a baby. So I used to sleep in the spare room, which was the room that entity would have walked into. Every time I've slept there, every time without fail, I'd wake up with scratches on my legs. That was around 90, between say 95 and 98, I think, the first 3 years, or maybe 95 and 97, a 2-year period. Anytime I slept there, I'd get scratches. Now in 2020, on the 1st of the 1st, 2020, I was sitting down after work. I did a New Year's Eve gig and a job, and as soon as I got home, I had like I'm sitting down and I felt my leg burning, and I looked and there were scratches appearing. I watched the scratches appear on my legs. It was like a poltergeist thing. I've got photos. I might have sent you a couple of them, I think, with scratches on there you might have seen. And that happened in 2020. And this year, on the 1st of the 1st, at 1900 at night, at 7 o'clock at night, 7 p.m., I was sitting there. My girlfriend was with me, my partner. And I said to her, oh, shit, my shin's burning. I could feel my right shin burning. And I said, I bet you I'm going to get scratches. I just knew it. And you wouldn't believe it. 4 scratches appeared. She took photos as they appeared and actually filmed. And she was watching them as the scratches appeared. Like, no one touched them. I just know when I get that burning sensation, there's going to be major scratches. But these scratches weren't as deep and as bad as the ones I would have sent you. I think you see one, I've got a UFO tattoo and it comes through it and it's almost like it's cauterized. It's so deep. And yeah, this is just like 4 scratches all from just above my ankle to under my knee. So that's where I talk about, there's the benevolent and the malevolent thing, and good and bad. And I've experienced both sides of it. And I think if you can deal with it, and it's hard, but yeah. But anyway, going back to 1992 now, I got injured at a job site. As I said earlier, I had my own business. I went to help a friend of mine who was my best man at my wedding. So I was doing the job for free. It was a family love job for a family, what I thought was family. And I was doing the job, and three guys took my tools and damaged all my tools. And it was all just lies from my friend's father about how much money I was going to charge and how much. And he actually, I said to him 25,000. He went and told these people, Peter, we'll do it for 5. So the people had resentment, like I'm doing the job too cheap, but I wasn't. It was just a game they were playing, and I ended up getting injured and attacked because of it, because of all their frustrations. So yeah, I had a guy throw a knife at me, and it lodged in my chest. And silly me, I pulled the knife out and just threw it on the ground. And then he grabbed the shovel to hit me. I blocked it. And then he had a bottle and broke the bottle on the wall and just ripped my arm open 3 times. And then I didn't see the other guy from behind me hit me with a shovel, sharp edge on my head, top of my head, twice. And as I turned the 3rd time, I seen the 3rd hit coming, so I blocked it. And I was covered in blood at this time, laid on the ground, unconscious for a while. I was nearly killed. So I had substantial head injuries, and I was put on medication. I had a lot of tests done and that. And then in July of 1992, still suffering, I was still like not getting back to work. I was still suffering, had injuries from that incident. It was going through court. They had been charged by police, and it was going through court. So that was another thing I had to deal with. But in July of 1992, I got out of bed. I wasn't feeling well. I got out of bed and I went and took my wife at the time, Vivian, to the train station so she could go to work. And as I left, I felt weird. It was a weird feeling. I couldn't put my finger on it. But as I left the house, the further I got from the house, the more regular I would have to stop, open the car door and vomit, get sick. But it wasn't food or anything. It was just like it was just wild yellow liquid. It was just green and yellow liquid. I don't know what it was, where it came from. I hadn't drank anything that with those colors the night before, anything, but it was just this stuff coming out of me continuously. Once I think I'm done, I drive 5 meters and I have to stop again, and here it goes again. Dropped her off at the station. On the way back, I was getting sick, but not as regular. The closer I got to my house, the less sick I got. So the last couple of streets, I didn't even pull over to get sick. I drove, 3-4 streets away, come in, pulled up in the driveway, walked in my house, went straight in.
This bustling holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, flavorful meals to fuel you on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tackling all of your holiday to-dos. Head to factormeals.com/expandingreality50 and use code expandingreality50 to get 50% off. That's expandingreality50 as in 50 at factormeals.com/expandingreality50 to get 50% off. Now that is, again, the expanding reality, like the words, just group them together there, no capitals. And then 50, the number 50, tack it on at the end, and you've nailed it. Y'all have a wonderful holiday season there.
To bed, and it was July, so it was a little bit cold. I threw the quilt over me and went back to bed, and I was wearing like track pants and a sloppy Joe. I just lied in bed, and within 5 minutes, it wouldn't have been even 5 minutes, I felt something jump on the bed. Not jump like get up and jump on the bed, but something like sit on the bed heavily. And I felt an indentation in the mattress. I definitely felt it. And as I'm lying there still, covered, I thought to myself, that feels like a cat or a dog, jumping on the bed. And I thought, we don't have pets. Oh, maybe when I opened the door, a cat snuck in, maybe. I don't know, because I wasn't with it. I wasn't feeling the best, so maybe it did. So I lift the quilt up and sit up to see what is sitting on my bed, and straddling me, I was no longer under the quilt now. I'm on top of the quilt, and straddling me, right on top of me, is a blonde, naked female. Humanoid in every way except exotic features. Perfect proportion, the perfect body. I mean, in every sense of the word, she was perfect body-wise. The face, she had wispy, long blonde hair. When I say wispy, I mean almost like a very, very, very thin nylon fishing line. And even the color of it wasn't gray. It was really strange, but she had a lot of hair, but it was sort of fluffed up, and it reminded me more of a Farrah Fawcett style hair, but for some reason it felt like there was wind or air or something, and it was being blown back. It might have been the style that they had it, I don't know. And she had big blue eyes, beautiful, beautiful color blue, and it faded. It was dark blue in the middle, and then to the outside of her eyes, it's faded a different blue. The eyes were probably 2 to 3 times bigger than human eyes. And I'm saying they're that big because I think at one stage when she was shocked, she was in shock, and her whole face sort of lit up and her eyes opened up. But yeah, as I sat up, I'm looking at this female. She's got a long nose, a pretty face, protruding cheeks. The singer Cher, if you think of the singer Cher, she's got the protruding cheekbones, the longer face. She was like that. Some people might think, oh, that looks unattractive, but no, she was absolutely stunning, but just different elongated features. Her chin was a bit longer, cheekbones were protruding, her face was longer, her lips were just absolutely perfect. Color of her skin was milky white, not a spot on it. I did not see a blemish anywhere on her skin. And as I'm looking at her, obviously I see her jutting breasts, which there was no gravity where she lived because there was no downward direction whatsoever. It was just jutting out. And then as I looked down, I saw she didn't have a belly button. It was just plain. There's no belly button there. And I couldn't see any further. The way she was sitting, like I couldn't see if she had pubic hair or anything like that. But as I sat up, the first thing, as I'm processing all this, what you would call my astral body, it sat up in front of my physical body, and I'm looking at this image of me, like a transparent, glassy image of me, moving forward ahead of me, and I'm looking at it, and through it, I can see the female blonde still. And as I sat up, and my body and my soul, or my astral body, whatever you want to call it, became one again, she went like that with both her hands and cupped the back of my head with both hands and pulled me to her left breast. Now, instantly, obviously, I noticed there was another female there. She was Asian. I'll get to that in a sec. But the Asian female, I'll describe her quickly. She was sitting down as if she's sitting down on her calves, her legs bent under her, sitting down, and she was on the side of the bed, and on the bed, but sitting on the edge of the bed, and she was just like watching. She was Asian in appearance. She had the perfect black Asian straight hair with a page boy cut across the forehead. Normal features. She didn't have features like the other one, like elongated or, big eyes. But what I noticed in her eyes, I didn't see I saw a little bit of white, but not much. It was more black. And she was just like in a focused position, just watching our interaction, me and the female. She's just watching. She didn't look at me. She didn't look around. So I'm noting her sitting there. And to me, it looked like she was either watching to learn or teaching the other one, like showing her the way. But they were talking telepathically, which I could pick up on some things. But anyway, as I've sat up, she's cupped the back of my head, and then she's pulled my face to her breast. And I'm claustrophobic at the best of time. I hate being in a lift. I hate being in a room. It doesn't matter how big a room is. If you close the door and windows and I can't get out, it could be a hangar, a massive airport hangar. I need to know that I can get out of that. Otherwise, it does stress me from claustrophobia. But anyway, when she buried my face into her breast, I couldn't breathe properly. And I'm already trying to deal with what's going on around me, and I'm a bit, anxious and that. So I pushed away from her. I put both my hands against her chest, her body, and pushed away from her. And I was able to do that. And then instantly she did it again and used a bit more strength and buried my face in her breast. And again, I tried to push, and I had to force it a little bit more, but I did push away. And then the third time, she's just pulled me really strong towards her. My face was fully buried in her breast. I could not breathe. And I'm trying to push away, and I'm trying to push away, and I'm trying to push away, and I couldn't do it. I know it sounds absurd. It sounds crazy, but as my face was buried in her breast, I just did this. I just opened my mouth and just took a little nip, not a bite. It was more a pinch, just to let me go. I just wanted to let me go. And as I did that, I pushed away really, really hard. I used all my strength. She was so much stronger than me. I used all my, and I've done martial arts, 3 different martial arts. I played sports. I played rugby league. I've been, I've been physical. I can handle myself, and she just overpowered me. But what I noticed when I pushed away the third time, I thought when I took that nip, I don't want to use the word bite, but because it wasn't a bite, it was a nip. I thought that I might have taken a little bit of skin, a little bit of flesh off her, maybe. I don't know if it was off a nipple, off a breast, I don't know. But that's what I thought, because as soon as it hit the back of my throat, this little piece, I could tell it wasn't that big. It hit, and it could have been a tablet for all I know, because I'll get to that in a minute. But it hit the back of my throat, and it was like I swallowed bloody acid. It was like I was drinking acid, and the whole throat started burning. And I just had these coughing fits just out of the blue, just these massive coughing fits. And then I'm coughing, and I see the 2 females look at each other. The blonde looks over, and she's like, "He's done this wrong. This is wrong. Something's gone wrong." this isn't like the last time. He's done something wrong. And once again, I'm like, what do you mean done something wrong? Well, what fucking last time? What are you fucking talking about? I'm freaking out thinking, what do you mean? This has happened before? And so I'm trying to breathe, I'm trying to cough, and I can hear the telepathic communication. He's done this wrong. This is not the way it's paid. Something's gone wrong. And then I hear it pump all this information into my head. And I'm thinking, there is no way I'm going to remember what you're saying. And it was like, I knew that I would in time. And I knew, and I have, and there's been things that I got told that has happened. And the main message I got then was something about in the future, in the next few years, this is 1992, mind you, in the next few years, which to me, I got told 20 to 25 years not to really talk about this stuff. And then the time will come when people will accept, and because of what's going to happen. And I got told that there are like portals or doorways opening up, and there are things from here that are going and not coming back, but then at the same time there are things coming through into this world that we've never seen before, we've never encountered before. And it's not necessarily happening because they're making it happen, it's happening by accident. It's like a railway crossing and a road, for example. They're not good, they're good running along each other, but as soon as they crisscross and you get a road cross in and a railway cross in, there's potential for accidents and things going wrong. And this is the way I think about it with portals and that. They're just different things at different times, but sometimes they cross each other, and that's when things happen, and that's when things come and go into different worlds and different dimensions. That's what I picked up on. And anyway, so I'm coughing now, and I look down because the coughing was so severe, and I'm like, coughing, look up, they're gone, they're vanished. I get up out of bed, and I went straight into my kitchen, and I grabbed a bit of Lebanese bread and some water, and I had ate some. I wanted to wash this thing down. It was just, my throat was so scratched up. Now, when I cough, once I drank the water and had the bread, it made it worse. I think the water made it just react bad, and it just burnt my throat. I'm coughing even more. So it wasn't a good decision to try and do that. So when I started coughing, I'd cough for 10, 15 minutes. And when you cough for that long, your organs, your internal organs, they ache, believe me. They get so painful because you're just coughing all the time. There's no recovery. 20-minute coughing, it's just ridiculous. So anyway, I went into the bathroom, and I felt the urge to pee. And as I walked into the bathroom, I obviously tried to urinate. And as soon as every man would know, when you go urinate, you get a build up, then you release. And as soon as I felt like I was about to go, it felt like my penis had been slashed with like multiple razors, like just slashed. And it was burning, and oh my God, the pain that I went through. So I had a look, and what I saw blew me away, because the night before I had a shower, I went to bed, my wife was lying next to me, we fell asleep, no sexual interaction, no contact. I knew whatever was on me was from what happened to me in the morning. So as I'm looking, I see 2 hairs. Some people have said to me, why don't you take a photo? Hopefully it happens to them and they can take a photo and show everyone their penis if they want. That's their business, but not for me. But anyway, I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you. But as I'm looking, I see 2 hairs. One was sort of half wrapped and the other one was in an S shape, but they were embedded into my penis. And when I tried to take them off, like to peel them off, now if you grab your fingernail and stick it into your skin in your hand, you get that indentation, right? That's how it was. And as I peeled them off, as I peeled the hairs off, I was in excruciating pain. I was in tears. I was crying. I was like a little baby. It was so painful. It was like getting a fishing line that's wrapped around your penis tightly and try and pull it out. It was just so painful. So anyway, I managed to get the first one out, managed to get the second one out, and then what I noticed was the pattern of where they were embedded. There was scarring. So anyway, got my thoughts together, went back, sat in the lounge room, grabbed the bag, put the two hairs in the bag, sealed it, wrote a note on it. I put, the date, two females, blonde and an Asian, and I just put it in one of my drawers in the filing cabinet. Walked into the lounge room, picked up the phone, called my wife who was at work at the time. I had dropped her off earlier, and I said, "Hey, hi," and she's like, and I'm coughing at the same time. She said, "Who am I talking to?" I said, "It's your husband, Peter." She goes, "Oh my God, Pete, it doesn't even sound like you." I said, "Yeah, I know. My voice is just, my throat's so scratched." I said, "Look, I've had something happen to me now. I'm not ready to talk about it. When I'm ready to talk about it, just connect these coughing fits that I'm having with the experience." I thought it took me 2 weeks, but it took me 3 weeks. It was around the 18th of August, I think, when I sat her down and we had a talk about it. And when I spoke to her about it and told her when it happened, she actually said her way of dealing with it was, it's not like you called a couple of females, and you came and partied at our house while I was at work at 7 in the morning, because this happened at 7:15 in the morning, She's like, obviously something happened that's out of your control. We just got to live with it. We've got to just understand what's going on, try and understand it. So she was, just her being that calm and that supportive gave me a lot of confidence, because anyone else could say, what did you call hookers and you got busted, or they could have been, and people have accused me of that. People have said, oh, he was drunk all night, whatever. And they say that it happened at 3 in the morning, it happened at 7. This is people making comments about my case that don't even get anything right. 90% of that version is wrong. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to have a hair sample that I kept. And the thing that I tried to keep quiet for a while there was, while I was having these coughing fits for 6 hours straight, I had the biggest erection I've ever had. And that's why I think whatever they gave me might have been a tablet. Like now we know we have Viagra, people can use that sort of stuff. I don't know. I'm just guessing, because a 6-hour erection is very painful. Ask anyone who's had it if they have. I doubt it, but yeah, it's pretty painful. It's not nice. It's not something to brag about either. I'm just telling my truth, and if it's embarrassing in a little way, I don't care. I don't care. No one's an expert in this. No one knows all the answers in this, and every little bit of information that's truthful and honest, and it's not made up, and it's not, people trying to boost their story by making claims that aren't real. I'll just tell it as it is, and if it's embarrassing in a little bit in a way that gets the truth out there and helps us to understand, I'm happy to do it. But yeah, so I sat on that hair sample for a while and kept it very quiet. Only very close friends of mine knew about it. And then one day we were doing a TV, a film. I got offered to do a film about my life story. And we had 2 female producers here, and I could see they were a bit skeptical. And as they were talking, one of them said, "Look, Peter, if this is really happening, it's got to be like a sexual assault case, like a physical assault case. There's got to be evidence. There has to be some evidence left behind, whether it's a hair seam." I said, "Okay, you want evidence? I'll show you evidence." Now, Bill Chalker, the UFO researcher who wrote the book Hair of the Alien, about my story, he was present at this meeting. So I went and grabbed the hair sample and showed it to them. They were interested, it sort of, I ticked off their intro, okay, but they don't know. They could think it was anybody's hair. Could have been anybody's hair. Could have been my neighbour's hair for all I know. Could have been my wife's hair. But anyway, Bill Chalker, straight away, his ears pricked up, and he was like, he has a scientific background as well. He was like, "Peter, why haven't you talked to me about this story?" I said, "Bill, my 88 experience is a can of worms. This is something entirely different, mate. I'm not ready to talk about this." And he just kept it in his mind, and time went by and 1993 came around. We split from the other group. We formed the UFO Experience Support Association, and then in April 1993, we formed the support group, which was probably 3 months after we formed the group. We kicked off the support group, and it was business as usual then, helping people. I'd get a lot of calls from people who've had experiences. Their partners don't believe them. They come attend the meeting. At the end of the meeting, the person would thank me, the partner would thank me for at least enlightening them or, giving them information and letting them know that there are other people that are having these experiences. It's not just what you think is your crazy partner. Millions of people worldwide are having these experiences. And so I believe it was around 1996, Bill Chalker contacted me and he said, look, I've got a few colleagues of mine. It's called the Invisible College. They're scientists, biochemists, CSIRO, employed people and that. They want to do some testing. It won't be under the CSIRO scientific banner, the organisation, but it will be some of their staff and their high-ranking staff conducting the testing in another lab. So my confidence was so high that those hair samples belonged to those females that I had no hesitation in handing Bill the hair samples. Now, the hair samples got taken and I didn't see the hairs for 10 years. 10 whole years, the hairs were gone. And a lot of people were shooting down Bill Chalker, accusing him of being CIA or, AGO agent and covering up stuff. And I'm saying to them, if he's covering up, why is he using my case to tell the truth about it? Why is he getting these people to do the testing? I didn't even know what the result was going to be at that stage. I went out on a limb and I took a chance. And it could have come back as anybody in Sydney could have had that same DNA, and I would have looked a bit silly because people would have thought, oh, yeah, he's having an affair or he's bringing someone to his house. But anyway, when Bill contacted me, I said, yeah, come, let's go, let's do it. So I signed a contract. It wasn't a contract, it was a release that I'm releasing the hair samples to them, which I thought was nice to do that because there's a record of it. Anyway, they did the testing, and the first feedback I got from the testing, and Dr. Horace Drew, who has written 5 books on DNA, he's a major authority on the topic. People refer to his books when they're talking DNA. So he was he oversaw the whole investigation, which gave me a bit of confidence. So one day I get a call from Bill and he's like, do you mind if we come over and take some hair samples off you and Vivian, just to check, some other things and that. Now they reckon from Vivian's hair, they couldn't retrieve any DNA because of bleaching. She doesn't dye her hair. She never has. So I don't know what went wrong there. But anyway, what they found is once they tested Vivian's hair and they realized that hair was not Viv's, then they conducted the first step in the DNA testing, and then they did a nuclear DNA test. Now, in the first test where they tested, they tested the root of the hair and the shaft of the hair. The root of the hair had blonde, blue-eyed, Scandinavian, Gaelic-looking DNA. And the shaft of the hair showed the rarest Chinese mitochondrial DNA on the planet. They reckon there's like 4 people around the planet who have something similar close to it. And they concluded that there is no way I could get an exotic hair that has 2 different DNA strands suggesting cloning. And this is 1992. Dolly the sheep was cloned a little later, I think a year later. But yeah, they found anomalies in the hair that supported my case. And my case appeared in Ancient Aliens, and one of the guys there, he actually he said, if you've got a hair sample and it's not testing human and it's got 2 different DNAs, he goes, it's pointing to alien DNA. I mean, Bill and I, and we don't like to use, the book is called Hair of the Alien, But a lot of people will say, oh, but it's not proof it's alien. No, it's not, but it definitely proves it was a human, you know. So it's something that I think has got a lot of people interested, opened their minds a little bit. I get skeptics now who talk to me about this case, and they're believers. I get religious people who, look, I work in the security industry, and it's a very fickle industry where you don't have to be highly educated to, do the job. And a lot of people have heavy religious beliefs, and but a lot of them respect me. They know me. They know what I'm about, and they say to me, "I didn't believe in this, Peter, but I believe you. I believe your story." I've got no reason to make up a story like this. And look, I've had numerous experiences. I had one particular experience that really affected me emotionally, and it still does to this day. I can handle all of this. I can deal with it. I'm strong enough and, big and ugly enough to bloody deal with this stuff. But the one experience that I had that really, really affected me was in 2008. I was taken on board a craft, and I knew wherever we were taken, it was some facility, but it was the UFO was in banked up next to a big building, or it looked like a building to me, bright white in color, and it had rectangle, very long windows, and they were all very darkly tinted. There's no way you could see through those windows. And as the window that I was looking at through the craft came into contact with the other window, all of a sudden I see myself on top of the ceiling. I'm on the roof, basically on the ceiling, top of it, and I'm looking down, and I'm floating down, and there's a bed, and in this bed there's a female, and she was in her mid-40s. She had black hair down to her shoulders, and whether she was taken and we were both taken to a facility, I'm not sure, or whether I was taken to her place, but it looked too, I don't know, it looked too sparse to be someone's home. It was more like like a hospital room or something. But anyway, I see myself floating towards her, and as I'm getting closer and closer to her, I can see tears running down her face, like she's crying. And it broke my heart. Look, my voice is cutting up now talking about it. It broke my heart to see a female lying there helpless. And there's, she can see a male hovering. Like, obviously she must have worked out, like, this isn't some human raping her or attacking her sexually. This is something that maybe she'd experienced before as well. And she's just, knows what's going to happen. But as I got closer to her, I was probably inches away from her face. I actually mouthed to her. I actually said, and I said it 3, I am so, so, so sorry. As I got closer and closer, and I could see the fear in her face, and I said, I'm so, so, so sorry. And I've had people say to me, you should try and find her, you should do this. I'm not into that. I'm not into trying to boost my story and get more evidence at the expense of other people. And why it affected me, I guess, because I didn't think that female was doing it out of her own accord. It wasn't her permission, giving me permission. Yeah, okay, let's do this. It was something that was happening to her that shouldn't have been. And what really ran it home for me was I was reading a book once. I think it was by, if I remember correctly, Dr. Richard Boylan, I believe. I've got to actually, Bill Chalker and I are trying to find the book, but I read it in the book. And in that book, there's a section where he talks about a female in her 40s, and she's lying in her bed, and a male comes down. This is in the book. I'm reading this book, and I come across this, and I was like, this is my story. This is me. And the lady's saying, he interviewed the lady, and she was saying she was lying in bed, or in a bed, and then she sees a male come down through the ceiling, levitating, hovering right above her. And then as he gets inches from her face, the male says to her, mouths to her, "I am so, so, so sorry." And I was stunned. I dropped the book. I was like, whoa. I'd never expected to see anything like that. Now, whether it was a reference to me, like my experience with her, I don't know. It could have been a different person altogether with a similar experience. But these experiences have given me strength, but at the same time, they can get a bit emotional and affect you in ways like, I don't want my kids to know what I know. My ex and I, it took 5 years for us before we had our first child, and it was because I knew what this world is going to be like about this time now, 25, 30 years later, and this is where we are now. My son's 28. And I asked him the same question recently. I said to him, he's just bought a house with his partner and they're getting married. And I said, "You're going to have kids soon, And he's like, "Oh, Dad, I don't think so because look at the shape of the world." I said, "Mate, we thought the same thing, and we gave you a chance, and look at you. You're thriving, you got to give them a chance. You got to give the life a chance." But yeah, I just feel that the whole experience that I've had has made me a better person. It's built me into a better person. I'm more caring, and I'm more understanding, and I'm more giving of my time to people. I've met some great, wonderful people in this field. I've had them at my house. My friendship with Professor John Mack was like a father-son thing, and his death devastated me, and it still does. Every time I see any documentary, any show with him in it, it just breaks my heart. Him and I got along really well. He used to, when he was in Australia, he'd spend his free time with us. We'd travel around and show him all over the place. So we became really close friends, Dominique, his partner, my partner, John and I. And he loved my little boy, Stephen. My daughter wasn't born at the time, and it was really, really sad news to hear that John was killed by a drunk driver on a pedestrian crossing of all places in England, while he was going to lecture at the Lawrence of Arabia Society, followed by a UFO lecture, which was so popular that they actually asked him to come back and film one later that evening. And after he finished that, walking home, that's when he got killed. A lot of people say, "Oh, the government, Harvard and the government killed him." No, I did a podcast recently with Paula Harris, and the lady organising the looking after the John Mack Institute, and I've sent her some photos that they didn't even have, and we were talking, and I mentioned that when we went to King's Cross once to watch a show, and as we were leaving, he nearly got killed by being hit by a van, and I had to pull him by the shoulder, and the mirror, the side mirror of the van, actually hit John's shoulder. It could have pretty badly injured him if I didn't move him. And I nearly got into a fight with the driver and the passenger because they were being so aggressive. And I said, "Look, it was an accident. Like, you think he meant to jump in front, walk in front of your car sort of thing?" And John was begging me, "Peter, please don't get into a fight with people over me." So I can see how you can make that mistake where he's from America. You guys look on the other side of the road. To us, England, same as us. So I can see John stepping out in traffic and not thinking. And that's exactly what all these close friends are thinking as well, because they know he could be a little bit absent-minded every now and then, especially with roads, So it was a shame. And I know people will probably, it sounds more conspiracy stuff if the government had something to do with it, but I honestly believe it was an accident. It was a tragic accident. I loved him, and I still love him. And to be honest with you, I didn't push my case with John. John had to pry it out of me, and that's what he liked. We invited him to the support group. He came in, he ran the shop. He was interested in a family, mother, husband, wife, daughter, and a son who all of them were having experiences. So he's really interested in talking to them. We did the whole event. It was about an 8-hour event. And then we came back to my house. And as soon as we walked in the door, him and Dominique actually said, "Okay, make a coffee. We're going to sit down, and now we're going to talk about your story. We want to hear your story. And he said, why didn't you talk to me about it? Why haven't you spoken to me about it? I said, John, I'm here to help other people. And if I'm going to take the limelight or take your time, that's taken it away from them. So I can deal with it. I'm strong enough. I said, I can deal with it. Aliens don't scare me. If anything, these scratches on my legs that I have had in 2020 and this year, they scare me more than anything the aliens have done. And I mean that when I say it. I'm not just talking crap. But it's multiple experiences that you have, and a lot of people think, oh, you have one experience, maybe it happened, but most probably it didn't. But if you have more than one experience, oh no, you're hallucinating, you're lying, you're doing this. I think if you've had one experience, just the one, you're probably mistaken, or it's a dream. If you've had multiple experiences, you're having these, they're real. It doesn't just happen to you. They don't come to you once in a lifetime and touch your life and walk away. They come to you in the first place because they're chosen you for a reason, and then they will make that contact, whether it's 10 years apart, 2 years apart, or 20 years apart. There's always that contact. Now, one thing I admitted early on, and I did that on purpose because I wanted it to finish now because it means so much to me. My mum is suffering from dementia now. I lost my dad in 2020 on my son's birthday. He passed away. My mum's in a nursing home now, but a couple of years before she started the effects of dementia, Bill Chalker and I, it was around 2004, Bill Chalker was investigating, talking to my family because he was going to write Hair of the 80 in the book. So he was at my parents' house and he was talking to family members, and my brother said to him that night when I had my 88 experience, when I had the things inserted in my head, this all came out during that book research. My brother said he was sitting in the chair and he could see all the way down. The back door and the front door line up directly, so that if you open them, you get a breeze running right through. And my brother said he was sitting in the lounge and he was paralyzed, he couldn't move, and he saw my body and three creatures. I'm floating and they're walking me out the hallway. And he said, and he actually cried when he said it. He said, I was sitting there, I couldn't move to help my brother, and I thought they were taking my brother's soul, and I'll never see my brother again. My brother died. My brother actually thought that I was dead. And that's in Bill's book. Bill's written that in the book. Now, as we're talking about this, my mum walks in the room. Now, my mum is Greek Orthodox. She's doesn't believe in any of this UFO stuff. No way. My mum walks in the room and she said, what are you guys talking about? And my oldest brother, Sam, said, the stuff's been happening with Peter. They're researching it, they're going to write a book about it. And she said, well, you know what? We don't speak about this. She said, when I was younger, we used to always see what we called flying plates. She said, but our parents would always say to us, no, that's Israeli spy planes. See, everything that happens in Lebanon, they blame on Israel. Israeli spy planes, but no matter what it is. And she said, our parents just put it down to Israeli spy planes. And she said that there was one time I'll never forget. She said, Peter was 22 days old. So I was born on the 27th of April. So 22 days old, right? So we're 2 weeks later now. Well, sorry, 3 weeks. And she said she was sitting on her bed at 3:00 in the morning, breastfeeding me. And she looked at the window. Now, the windows in our house in Lebanon, it was a glass window, and then it had the outdoor louvers, which are like like some of your cupboards and that have the louvers doors. So you close them at night, and if it's hot in there, you can open the glass and leave those closed and it lets air in and so on. But my mum had them open and the glass was just there. And she said, as she's breastfeeding me, she looked in the window and she saw an alien in the window. And she said, he had the perfect, like no blemish on him, and he had white milky skin, similar to the female I saw. He had white hair, parted right at the side, like above the ear, almost parted from here to the side, wearing a black skivvy, big blue eyes, and she said he was like almost angelically perfect, and it was watching her, and she said she made this clear. Bill and I both now kick ourselves for not recording it on video, but he has made the notes, and I'm not sure if he's got it on audio, which I hope he has. But she actually said, whatever was looking through the window wasn't perving at me, breastfeeding my kid. It was looking at my child. It was interested in my child, not in me. And then she said it was 3 a.m. So she goes, just after 3 o'clock. What woman in the Middle East in 1964? My uncle was a copper, and he lived right next door. She said, I would have screamed, to your uncle to come and look and see who's there, someone perving looking through a window. She said, I was totally calm, and I fell asleep, and I got up the next morning, and I went and spoke to my brother-in-law, and I said, we live on the coast, and we got cement factories, and there's 2 ports, one for white cement, one for grey cement. So she asked him, can you check and see if there's any ships coming in to pick up product or cement or whatever? And there was no ships in town at all in either port. So there was no reason for someone that looked like that to be around there. And it was the Middle East, so you'd think they'd be black hair more than anything. But people ask me, why were you chosen? Why have you chosen? And that, I mean, obviously, if a race from somewhere else targets you, you're chosen for something. I don't know what it is. I believe it's because I'm outspoken. If I believe in a cause, I don't care how detrimental that would be to me. I would back it. I would support it. I would speak about it. Nothing would scare me or faze me or shut me down not to talk about stuff like that. Maybe that's why I was chosen for that. I mean, I was the first Australian to go public about abductions. The only other family that I heard about were the Knowles family. Their car got picked up and affected their dog, and they were so badly traumatized. 25 years later, I saw an interview with them, and their voices were shaky. They were so traumatized, and I feel sorry for them because the media did a real hatchet job on them. They really, really, try to discredit them and give them a bad name and that. But dealing with the media with me, I had a journalist called Paul Heinrich. He was an investigative journalist, and the Melbourne Age newspaper, which is a really big newspaper. If you open it, you can almost cover your car with wrap your car with it. It's that big. He came out and did a story about me, and he actually said to me at the end of the day when we finished, he said, Peter, I got sent here to destroy you in your case. He said, I'm an investigative journalist. He goes, I'm going to send you a copy of this newspaper article. Can you just ring me and tell me what you think? I had 2 pages, massive pages in the newspaper with a picture of my car and my rego plate, which is UFO 444. It was one of the best articles written about me, and it was written by a journalist who was sent to destroy me in my case. So, I'm grateful in a way that my case has enough strength and evidence to back it, that people can't just dismiss it. I would like to see 100 more, 1,000 more. And in saying that, we've had a number of people, I think it's been up to 6 now. One person claims that 2 weeks before I had my 1992 experience with the 2 females, that he had an experience exactly like mine, retrieved the hair sample, still has the hair sample, but doesn't know where he put it. Now, as my partner said to me recently, she said, babe, your experience happened in 1992, right? I said, yeah. She goes, did you always know where the hair was? I said, yeah, of course. I still know where it is now. And she said, well, how can someone experience that and not know where the hair? So this guy keeps contacting me every now and then saying, one day I'm going to find the hair, one day I'll find the hair. I'm disappointed because I'd love to get that hair tested. Then we've had another 4 or 5 who claim to have read my story, and then within 2 to 3 weeks, they've had the exact same thing happen to them with an Asian and a blonde female and a hair sample. But they've dropped the hair sample on it's all about continuity of evidence. And with me, I took it off ripped them off my penis or peeled them off. I put them in a satchel bag. I sealed the bag. I put a note on it. So I know that hair was what I took off there. Other people said they removed the hair off their penis and dropped it on the ground. This is 2 or 3 people have actually said that. And then an hour or 2 later, they've gone back and thought, oh, shit, I better. Now, if you've read my story and you know that there's DNA testing that can be done on that stuff, why would you drop that hair on the ground? It'll get contaminated anyway. There'll be more contamination to it. Keep it in your hand, put it in a jar, put it in a bag, seal it, and it's there. Don't drop it on the ground and then I'm only saying this now, hopefully it'll help people in the future. You know, when you drop something on the ground, a hair, and go to get it 2 hours later, 3 hours later, you're going to pick up maybe your daughter's hair, your wife's hair, and that's been the case. Every time we've tested these hairs, they've come back as Rosetta. Oh, it's the wife's hair matches the daughter's hair or the wife's hair, which is disappointing. I don't know if some of them are playing games just because it's not a cheap method, a cheap way to conduct the test. It's like a $2,000 kit to do the DNA test minimum. So we're not, flush with money and funding. And I don't ask for funding from people. Everything I've done in the UFO field, everything I've set up, everything, conferences, bringing people over from overseas, put them in hotels. Some of them would rather stay at my house because they say I'm a good host. That's all out of my own pocket. I don't have any beneficiaries funding me. I don't have people throwing money on me or sending me money in the mail going, we want to support you. Every cent I've put towards this has been from my pocket, and I've made no money from it whatsoever. People say to me, oh, you wrote a book, you made money. No, I didn't write a book. Bill Chalker wrote a book. Bill Chalker gets the royalties. I don't get a cent out of that, although it's my story. Every book that comes out now has my story. I'm not upset about that. I don't get royalties for it. I don't get anything. I'm not upset about that. What I'm upset about is most of the stories in those books are wrong. The time is wrong. The DNA, the 2 different DNAs are completely, they're wrong with that. I don't even get a mention. I just did a show called Close Encounters Down Under, or Encounters Down Under, it might have been called. And they edited my talk so much, and I know why they did it in this day and age, because in the past I've actually said, I've been accused of, it's a sexual fantasy. And I've actually said, I love the Asian race. They're the most beautiful race. I love it. I love, their culture. And I said, but I am not sexually attracted to an Asian female. Like, I find them attractive, but I'm not sexually attractive to me for relationships and stuff. It's not my thing. Nothing against them. And I made that point, and they edited it out of the last show I was in, and it made it made the case more complicated than if they had just put it in. I'm talking, my way of thinking was in the 90s. Now it's all about political correctness, and you ask someone, what race are you these days, and they say you're racist for asking. So yeah, I can understand I've got to be a bit more politically correct. But when someone's accusing me of having a sexual fantasy, and I say to them, no, I'm into blondes and I'm not into, it's difficult. I'm not a bad person. I'm not being racist about it or anything. I'm just stating fact. I can't be a sexual fantasy, because if it was a sexual fantasy, I know exactly what I'd be fantasizing about. It's not that. But that's how people want to deal with it. That's, I can't convince everyone. All I can do, I just yesterday read something where someone was claiming to have evidence, and we've got the smoking, it called it the smoking gun, right? The Holy Grail. But I can't share it with anyone because I was told by this person in government not to. So I jumped on there and I said, hang on a minute. I'm over people claiming to have evidence. we're here searching for the truth, and it seems to be so hard to get truth. If you've got evidence, put it out there. I said, I had evidence. I put my evidence out there. That's my truth. Whatever came of it, whether it was negative or positive, I supplied evidence. Everybody should be supplying their evidence so we can move forward in this. And all this disclosure stuff we're seeing, Brandon, it's a waste of everyone's time. I like the fact that David Grush has had the guts to come out and speak. There's many more like him that have done it. I don't think it's going to get us anywhere. I don't think governments give a damn about you and me knowing the truth. It's in their best interest for us not to know the truth. And I can't see it happening anytime soon. And the only way we'll know disclosure will happen and alien truth will happen is if the aliens make it happen. There is no way our governments want us to know. But, what I find now, there's a lot more people talking about the topic. People are open-minded to it. The younger generation, they're all basically all accepting of it. We used to have religious groups. I got asked to speak at the, I believe it was 7-Day Adventist. Bill Chalker and I got to speak there, and it was about 3,000-4,000 people in the audience. I got up and spoke, and when I finished, Bill went up and spoke, and when we came, we both sat down in the crowd in the front row. The guy got up there, the pastor, and he said, "Thank you for sharing your information." He looks at his audience, his congregation. He says to them, "This is a perfect example of the devil and the devil taking over." But I just couldn't deal with it. I got upset to Bill. "If you want to stay, listen to this. See you later." And I walked out and left. So religious people 30 years ago would tell you we're the center of the universe. Only life exists on this planet. No one could exist elsewhere. Now they're all coming around, and it's like, oh yeah, aliens exist, but Jesus is going to come and save us. I don't know. People believe in a book that was written thousands of years ago, which is a story. It's not 100% factual. What I've seen with my own two eyes. It's called evidence. And a person like me can go in a court of law, and believe me, I've been a witness for the police on many times. I go in there, I'm credible, I give evidence. Someone gets convicted because of the evidence we supply. I walk out of that court, look up in the sky, see a UFO, walk back into that court and say, "Hey, I just saw a UFO," and they'll dismiss me as crazy. But half an hour ago, someone gets convicted on the evidence you're giving.
Peter, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I have a million questions that we are going to schedule another conversation to have. But before I let you go, I would just like you, if you don't mind, sir, to leave us all with something of hope. Like, what keeps you getting out of bed every morning, man?
The thing that keeps me, obviously, my children. I want my children to eventually know the truth. And it means a lot to me that we keep this topic on the hot burner. And I find whenever this topic comes up, the subject is, in the media, and the disclosure thing is happening in the congressional hearings, a war will break out somewhere and take the credit. It will take the focus away from all that UFO stuff. I just hope that we as humanity can at least study it. You don't have to believe it, but study it. And I think once we study it and give it the proper research, the proper investigations that it needs, and the proper support for people who have had these experiences, I think we'll go a long way to understanding it. And until we understand it, we're going to have difficulty trying to get the truth. I just hope that people don't hold their breath and wait for governments to tell them the truth, because that's not going to happen. The truth is going to come out from people like us and from the aliens themselves.
Holy shit, fuck balls, damn. Now, as you will notice in that, I didn't say much, and there's a lot of questions. We all have a lot of questions, I feel, probably for that. I definitely do, and was noting them along the way among my surprise and intrigue. So we have already scheduled such a thing, and if you'd like to join us for that chat, it's going to be an insider hangout that's taking place on Saturday, February 10th. That is Saturday, February 10th. We are going to do that at 6 p.m. Central Time. Should give everybody plenty of time to schedule and to go sign up at the link below, down in the chat there. Absolutely fascinating. Like I said, thank you, Peter Khoury, for coming and telling your story. And guys, come join us for that hangout. It is going to be incredible. I just wanted to also send love to all of you for listening and watching and for supporting that. The community over there is going off, and I'm grateful for everybody. We're having a blast, so come hang out with us, guys. Also want to remind you about the journal series that is located down in the show description that is published through Rediginal Publishing. That's our jam. And just go check it out, get your mindful expansion on. As well, we want to mention the event that is going to take place in Georgia. This is going to be in the Southern Appalachian Mountains. We are going to do a Bigfoot adventure hike. We're not going to hunt Bigfoot. We're going to befriend him, if anything. So a Bigfoot befriending there, and that is going to take place May 15th through the 21st of this great year, 2024. So I want to thank everybody again for listening, watching, all that, hanging out. I want to thank you for picking up that piece of litter if you see it while you're walking around out there. I want to thank you for getting the fuck out of the left-hand lane if you got somebody behind you. And most importantly, I want to thank you, above and beyond, for just being good to one another. We'll see you next time.
To whoever this may impact, sometimes our lives have to be completely shaken up, changed, and rearranged to relocate us where we're really meant to be. Sometimes change feels like loss, transformation is scary, and sometimes, to discover the best version of ourselves, we must let go of absolutely everything holding us down. Welcome to I Missed Me, your new safe space. I Missed Me's purpose is to help people all around the world to come back home to themselves. It is a healing self-growth podcast that encourages people to dive deep into their emotions, heal their traumas, and ultimately love themselves. My name is Mafian Sures. I am your host, and I hope to be a part of your healing journey.